It was, of course, the government that set up the COVID inquiry to look into, amongst other things, how ministers handles the pandemic. All too often in British public life, inquiries are ordered to buy some time for those at the centre of a storm. The main hearings have barely begun, but the inquiry has already started biting back, demanding to see the WhatsApp messages and notebooks of Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister at the time. Today, the government of his latest successor, Rishi Sunak, he of the integrity and accountability claim, refused to back down. It has taken the unusual step of asking for another judge to review the inquiry's demand. The message to the inquiry, then: there are important principles at stake, so see you in court.
Chatting amicably with Ukraine's President Zelensky at a summit in Moldova, Rishi Sunak may have hoped to focus on European security today, but he couldn't escape questions about the COVID inquiry and whether he'd cooperate fully or not.
As I said, we've been long cooperating with the inquiry. Important that we learn the lessons of COVID so that we're well prepared in the future. Government's considering very carefully next steps, but it's confident in its position.
But as the 4 o'clock deadline to hand over all the messages requested passed, it became clear the next steps meant a court challenge. In a letter to the COVID inquiry chair, Baroness Hallett, the government wrote, "The Cabinet Office has today sought leave to bring a judicial review. We do so with regret. We consider there to be important issues of principle at stake here, affecting both the rights of individuals and the proper conduct of government. The request for unambiguously irrelevant material goes beyond the powers of the inquiry." As to Boris Johnson's WhatsApps during the pandemic, there was yet another twist. The Cabinet Office said it had been handed some material, but added, "We have not been able to verify the completeness of this material, and it does not cover the whole of the specified time period, but only the period from May 2021, when the former Prime Minister acquired a new phone." Today, he wasn't keen to talk about exactly what he handed over yesterday.
Never interviews here.
But later, a source close to Boris Johnson said that he still had the old phone, but had been told to switch it off for security reasons. Among those who lost loved ones, such as Lindsay Jackson, whose mother died of COVID in a care home, there was dismay over the government's stance.
I mean, every single day when these things happen, these revelations come out, it's just more salt in the wound for the 250,000 families in this country who lost people to COVID.
One of Britain's most senior judges, Lord Savile, who led the Bloody Sunday inquiry, said if he was chair now, he'd quit.
If I was prevented from conducting a full and proper inquiry, I might seriously consider resigning on the grounds that I was unable to do a proper job.
Tonight, Labour has also accused the government of obstructing the inquiry and urged the Prime Minister to think again.
And Libby's here to take us through some of the fallout from this. I mean, this move, in many people's eyes, won't just undermine the whole inquiry and the premise of it, but also goes to the heart of this particular Prime Minister's time in office, when he pledged integrity, accountability so vividly when he took up the job.
Yes, I think that is the problem when you present yourself as the man who's come in and is clearing up the mess left by your predecessors. It's not a good look to be quibbling with a senior judge like Baroness Hallett about what evidence she is allowed to see. But that is the situation the government finds itself in tonight. Now, the Cabinet Office, in its letter, makes clear that there are issues of principle at stake that they believe, and that there are questions of people's privacy that do need looking at closely. And they believe that the remit that Baroness Hallett considers to be her own preserve has been drawn too widely. But as I say, I think it's very difficult for them to set up this inquiry and then turn around and say that the judge who's in charge of it really can't see critical documents. Many people believe that someone as senior as Baroness Hallett herself should be able to decide. And you saw Lord Savile there, who chaired the Bloody Sunday inquiry. He said if he was in her position, he would quit. So I think this is a very serious matter for the government. Also, they do seem to have been slightly outsmarted by one Boris Johnson, who seems to have been able to present himself as being willing to cooperate, where the government is actually not doing so. I think the reality is that we saw there that what he has handed over actually doesn't amount to very much at all. In fact, it was only WhatsApp messages from his phone from May 2021, when I believe the pandemic was almost over.
OK, Libby, thank you for taking us through all of that. Thank you.